Sorry about that, but I'm back. I took some time off, went to Vegas, rode a few roller coasters, got married, ate a lot of burgers, and finished the Earthworm Jim video I've wanted to make for like 3 years. But now I've got some catching up to do, so let's go. This is uncharacteristic of me, but I haven't done a Kennywood video in nearly a year. I've got a lot to get caught up on, as we're about to head into a brand new season, the first under new ownership among other new things. But before I get into any of that, it's a rule at this point that I have to look back through the previous season for a good old-fashioned recap. So join me for a look at Kennywood's 2024 season and all the notable happenings from that year. Coming off of the 2023 season, which saw the addition of Spinvasion and Area 412, 2024 appeared to be a year of multiple smaller investments. The big news in the off-season was the announcement of the park's rethemed bumper cars. The Grand Prix name would be no more, opting instead for a unique, albeit strange, potato patch French fry theme. The name of this new iteration of the bumper cars would be decided by the public, as Kennywood allowed everyone to vote on one of 3 different names: Deep Fried Derby, Speedy Spuds, and Potato Smash. On March 13th, the winner of the poll was announced as Potato Smash, and all eyes were looking ahead to the start of another great season the following month. On April 3rd, I was invited to a pre-season media tour to see some of the park's newest additions for the year. Some of the highlights included the progress on Potato Smash, the all-new Jeter's Pub, Carousel Burger, which replaced the former Johnny Rockets, the Turtle refurbishment, and smaller additions like the Lost Kennywood gift shop remodel and the white outline coming back on the Thunderbolt letters. Despite the rain, this was an excellent taste of what the season had in store. Everyone's excitement would be tempered, however, on April 17th, as Kennywood posted a video to their social media profiles announcing that Steel Curtain would be closed all season as it underwent a lengthy refurbishment. This was a serious blow to the park's ride lineup, but also something most people saw coming a mile away. Now, you don't need me to tell you that Steel Curtain wasn't exactly the most reliable ride in the park, so the coaster being closed all year was disappointing, but not at all surprising to most. All we could do was hope the year-long closure would be worth it, although that still remains to be seen. To make matters worse, on that same evening, a violent thunderstorm blew over Kennywood, resulting in Millie's getting struck by lightning. Local fire departments were quickly called to the scene, and although the fire was quickly extinguished, it resulted in the loss of the iconic Big Dipper Tower on top of the building. With a catastrophic fire avoided, opening day arrived 3 days later on April 20th, and as usual, it was great to be back in the park. Although the park was open, several attractions were not ready for opening day. Most notably, Aero 360 and Swing Shot did not open that weekend. Potato Smash did open, albeit without the new themed bumper cars, instead operating with traditional bumper cars as placeholders for the time being. This might seem like a really small thing, but I really appreciated them doing this. They could have easily just put up a sign that says something like Potato Smash opening this summer, but they put the older style bumper cars on so the ride would still be open in some way, and these were not the same cars that Grand Prix operated with previously, so they were likely rented just for this purpose. Elsewhere in the park, Turtle reopened following its long refurbishment, looking better than ever with the reupholstered seats and fresh paint. Speaking of paint, Thunderbolt's white outline on the station letters was completed, and it looked awesome. Friendly reminder to thank your local Garrett for convincing them to bring that back.
Where is the mulch?
Park guests could visit the new Jeter's Pub, which was like a nostalgic hangout spot with various beers to sample, and the Carousel Burger Company, which served up, you guessed it, burgers, along with some absolutely massive milkshakes. I was also more than happy to see the return of the Exterminator pre-show video in its entirety. I had a few nitpicks about the way it was being presented, but I'm just glad it's back at all. Opening day went pretty well, but they were clearly still shaking off the rust from the off-season, as both Phantom and Skyrocket only operated with one train. Aside from that and the few ride closures, it was a solid start to the season. Swing Shot returned to the ride lineup the following weekend on April 27th, although Aero 360 did not, missing the promised reopening date that was shown on the sign at the entrance. It would be the following weekend, on May 4th, that Aero would finally reopen, albeit without its trademark arrows. But when one ride opens, another closes, and on that weekend it would unfortunately be Phantom, as the coaster did not operate at all, and it would stay that way for the next 2 weeks. On May 6th, Lath and Sal, who had been inside the Penny Arcade for the past several years, was moved to a new location in front of the old mill. I'll always prefer her being in the train station, but this wasn't a bad change at all, and it's the closest she's been to her original spot at the entrance to Laugh in the Dark, which sat where Skyrocket is now. On May 17th, Phantom was back and ready to go, this time with both trains, and Aero 360's, arrows also returned that weekend. 2 days later, on May 19th, we got a pleasant surprise as Raging Rapids opened early for the season. It's been running well since it had that multi-year refurbishment. Still waiting for the addition of the promised water features though. Maybe this year? May had one final surprise in store, as it was announced that Potato Smash would have its grand opening on Saturday, May 25th. However, the ride soft opened with the new cars 2 days early, which is when I got my first ride. With the unusual new theming, new cars, as well as sound effects that played during the ride cycle, Potato Smash was positively received. This was definitely not the way we were expecting the park to go about it, but this was a refresh the bumper cars desperately needed. As June began, so did Kennywood's annual food and drink festival, Bites and Pints. As was the case in previous years, the event ran on weekends throughout June and drew in massive crowds, a testament to its enduring popularity. It seems like we can expect every year's Bites and Pints to add new food and drink options, and that's completely fine with me. South Korea, Poland, Brazil, Jamaica, the lineup of countries represented just grows with each season, and I know for a fact we'll be getting even more in 2025. Bites and Pints also featured nightly performances by local musicians as well as the park's new water jetpack show, which proved to be a massive hit with audiences. Aside from just being impressive to watch, the show featured a good amount of audience interaction and almost acted as a water ride in and of itself. Sitting towards the front was a huge relief on the hottest summer days. This show only lasted through June, as it was changed in July to the Daredevil Circus, another great show with less emphasis on the water and more of a focus on death-defying stunts. It reminded me of a show I might read about from Kennywood's history, as they featured similar Daredevil acts in the earlier years of the park. We know that these shows will be returning for 2025, and that's fine by me, so bring them on. While Bites and Pints was going on, late June saw the addition of an abundance of new coaster merchandise in the gift shops, such as new shirts for Skyrocket, Jackrabbit, and Phantom. There's no such thing as too many coaster shirts, and I grabbed the Phantom one because of course I did. On June 29th, the well-known Thunderbolt mural, which had been unchanged since 2002, was suddenly taken down without warning. Not long after, it was announced that not only would a new mural be painted, but pieces of the old mural would be auctioned off for charity. The auction wound up generating over $14,000, which was donated to the local nonprofit 412 Food Rescue. On July 6th, painting of the new mural began, and would continue for the next 3 days. The new mural was completed on July 9th, and I still don't like it. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to have a change of scenery here, but this mural has way too much going on, and it's kind of a mess if you ask me. Not trying to downplay the work that went into it, but they tried to fit way too many characters and references in here, and it just makes me miss the simplicity of the old mural. It's clear that some talented people worked on this, and maybe I'll warm up to it one day, but for now, this was a downgrade to me. However, it is a nice change of scenery in this corner of the park, I suppose. Before work on the mural had started, Turtle finally reopened for good after its lengthy downtime on July 5th. Not quite sure what was wrong with it, and even though it ended up missing the first 2 months of the season, it was good to have it back. On July 15th, Ricky Spicuzza was appointed as the new general manager of Kennywood. Having been a part of Kennywood, Idlewild, and Sandcastle for the past 20 years, Ricky immediately got to work, adding 20 days of 10 p.m. closings. Anyone who grew up in Pittsburgh knows that Kennywood is at its best at night, so I don't think there was a single person who was upset with this decision. The late closings built up to Kennywood's first ever drone show on July 20th, which was intended to be a one-night-only event, but proved to be so popular that it was brought back the following month. July soon turned into August, and I was pleased to see even more awesome coaster merchandise show up in the gift shops. A Thunderbolt Nano coaster and coaster cutout, as well as the most awesome Phantom shirt I've ever seen, are just a few of the items added during this time. On August 24th and 25th, the park held 2 additional drone shows due to the popularity of the first one. Reception to these has been largely positive, and it's looking like they're going to bring them back in 2025, so I can't wait for that. On August 30th, the park did something that, to my knowledge, they haven't done before. This was Kennywood's 21 Plus night, which ran from 10 p.m. to midnight. This sold-out event was held only in the lagoon area of the park, so only attractions near there and the park entrance were open. The event also had an all-you-can-eat buffet, a live DJ foam party, and an early preview of the Malice in Wonderland haunt. I wasn't able to attend, but I heard conflicting reports of how the night went. Some who attended said the evening was awesome, with good food and a great ambiance. Others, however, criticized the event for being an overcrowded mess, resulting in long waits and hardly enough time to do anything. Whatever the case, I hope they give this type of event another try. It's a good concept, and I think it could be executed well with enough preparation. Things continued as normal until September 14th, the final day of the summer season. It's always a bittersweet time in the world of amusement parks, because although the summer has come to an end, it also means haunt season is right around the corner. Kennywood's Phantom Fall Fest began on September 20th with the largest ride lineup the event had seen up to that point, as well as new food options including shakes, pasta, fried s'mores, and more. Unfortunately, a few attractions would not join the lineup for opening night, namely Voodoo Bayou, which remained closed through that weekend. Thunderbolt was also announced to be closed for the entirety of Phantom Fall Fest, with Racer taking its place in the ride lineup. However, Kennywood quickly retracted this announcement and decided to have Thunderbolt stay open for the remainder of Fall Fest, starting on September 27th. The coaster was given a lights out theme, with minimal lighting along its layout and some awesome purple lights inside its station. This was the first time in several years that all 3 wooden coasters were open during the Halloween season. Also starting September 27th, Voodoo Bayou opened for the season, meaning that the complete haunt lineup was open and ready. As Phantom Fall Fest was going on, eagle-eyed attendees were quick to notice some activity finally happening over at Steel Curtain, as ground had been broken for new footers to be poured, and these looked substantially larger than the existing ones. On October 4th, Kennywood provided an update on Steel Curtain to their social media channels, showing the new footers being poured. Work continued for the remainder of Phantom Fall Fest. October 11th was a pretty special night, as the park stayed open until midnight. These midnight closings are nothing new for Halloween, but they're sporadic enough to still feel special when they do happen. Does anybody remember in the early days of Phantom Fright Night when the park was open till 1 a.m.? I was way too young to attend back then, but wouldn't that be awesome now? Anyway, during the final hour of this midnight closing, both Villa of the Vampire and Kennyville Cemetery went lights out, handing glow sticks to those in line to help make their way through the haunts. We would get another midnight close with lights out haunts on October 18th, and the Halloween season continued until October 27th, the final night of Phantom Fall Fest. With Halloween having come and gone as fast as always, attention shifted towards the next seasonal event, Holiday Lights. And though I usually don't have a lot of new additions to comment on when it comes to Holiday Lights, 2024 was a bit of an exception. For the first time, Lost Kennywood was open during Holiday Lights. Not the whole area, but just the front section near the fountain, as the gift shop was partially used as the new location for kids to get pictures with Santa. The big new addition for Holiday Lights was a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer meet and greet, featuring several costumed characters based off the classic Rankin Bass Christmas specials. Sam the Snowman, Bumble, and of course Rudolph and Clarice were all present, and the costumes looked really good if I say so myself. Lastly, Holiday Lights expanded its ride lineup greatly in 2024, with the addition of Aero 360, Music Express, Potato Smash, Racer, and Wave Swinger. It was a festive Christmas season as usual, and all the new additions definitely made it even more enjoyable, but holiday seasons always go quick, and the final day of Holiday Lights was New Year's Day 2025. And finally, we've nearly caught up to the present. 2024 didn't bring as many significant changes as previous years, but it did refine a few things and brought improvements to other aspects of the park, as well as a few noteworthy returns to the ride lineup. But we're not quite done yet, are we? Because the last month or so has given us a good number of changes and announcements to look forward to. I'm not going to go too in detail with these because I'd still like to do a separate video showing everything new for this year, but very quickly we have the rebranding of Thomastown into Kennywood Junction, and a tremendous amount of new supports added to Steel Curtain. It won't be open in time for opening day, but perhaps by Memorial Day weekend we'll see the coaster make its grand return. But the biggest announcement is that, although we didn't know it at the time, 2024 was the final year of Kennywood being a Palace Entertainment park. That's right, Palace Entertainment as we knew it is no more, as the entire division was purchased by none other than Herschend Family Entertainment, which I'm sure you all know is most famous for operating Dollywood and Silver Dollar City. This news was huge when it broke, and I honestly thought it was some kind of prank because I never thought I'd see this happen. What this means is that Herschend's portfolio has grown tremendously, as they've not only acquired Kennywood, but also Idlewild, Dutch Wonderland, Lake Compounce, Adventureland, plus all the Palace water parks. They're now one of the largest amusement park operators in the country, next to Six Flags of course. But what does this mean for Kennywood? First off, I don't think we'll be seeing any major changes for at least another year or two. Just look at Kentucky Kingdom, which became a Herschend park in 2021 and is only now seeing substantial investment from the company. With that said, when changes do come, I think one area we'll see get a substantial amount of focus is the theming and overall appearance of the park. If you've ever been to Silver Dollar City or Dollywood, the theming of each area is immaculate. Those parks put so much care into the landscaping and overall design of each themed section, and I think the Palace parks will now be seeing something similar. Now, credit where credit is due, Palace had been taking a lot of steps in the right direction the last few years, giving buildings and rides facelifts as well as painting just about everything in the park, but I think it's safe to say this will only continue under the new ownership. Kennywood Junction was already in the works before Herschend took over, but the early previews the park has been providing have a lot of character and references for longtime Kennywood fans. Let this set the standard, which will hopefully only improve from here. It will be interesting to see what Herschend does with Steelers Country. I see two possible options here. Either they'll double down on the Steelers theming and further develop the area, perhaps bringing it more in line with that old concept art, or they'll let the license expire and re-theme the area to something new. I'd honestly be fine with either option, being that I'm not big into football, as long as Curtin can run reliably, which we'll find out about soon enough. Outside of theming, I can see Herschend implementing a higher standard of maintenance and guest experience. The last few years were already pretty good operation-wise, but Herschend certainly has a standard they want all their parks to meet, and that means more consistent operations of popular attractions, less downtime for rides that are often closed, looking at you, Widow, and likely a completely different type of training for new employees. It'll be interesting to see what changes within the park as the next few years play out. One area of concern I saw a lot of people talking about was whether or not Phantom Fall Fest will happen now. Herschend allegedly does not do haunt events at their parks, and this led to some rumors that there would be no more Halloween events. Thankfully, Kennywood has put these concerns to rest, at least for now, by confirming that Phantom Fall Fest will in fact be happening this year. There will even be a brand new haunt added, which is something I'm very much looking forward to seeing. So at least for this year, Phantom Fall Fest is safe. One thing I hope they implement is a multi-park season pass. This would incentivize guests to visit the other Herschend parks, and would be a pretty good value considering the number of parks you'd get access to with it. Heck, it would definitely give me a good excuse to visit a bunch of parks I've never been to. Oh, and there's this cinnamon bread that everybody keeps talking about that's apparently synonymous with Herschend. I've never had it since I've never been to a Herschend park, but from what I've heard, it's delicious. Guess we'll find out soon enough. Kentucky Kingdom is selling it now, so the Palace parks can't be too far behind. Imagine being able to get potato patch fries and cinnamon bread at the same place. That sounds amazing. I only hope the higher-ups at Herschend take their time integrating these parks into their lineup in order to learn what makes them all unique. We all want improvements and new additions, sure, but that shouldn't come at the cost of long-standing rides and attractions that have become staples at each park. In Kennywood's case, help preserve its unique identity and history while continuing to invest in an improved guest experience. Kennywood is held in high regard among enthusiasts for its mixture of old and new, and that has never been more important than it is now, so I hope they take that into consideration before making any significant changes. Well then, I think that's enough talking about Kennywood for now. We've covered a lot of ground today, and I think I'm pretty well caught up with everything that's gone on while I wasn't uploading videos. It's good to be back, and I'm sure I'll be saying that same thing on opening day, April 12th. I'll likely be doing another video going into more detail on all the new things for this year, but for now, let's bid farewell to the 2024 season and the Palace Entertainment ownership. Let's look ahead to this new era for all the Palace parks and the possibilities that might be in store. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, for more roller coaster and retro gaming content, keep it right here on Rampaging Rex Productions.